Thank you for banging on the drum of justice. We've got 3 drums of justice here. If you want to make some noise to tell them you're really pissed off about the F-35s. We've got some chalk here. If you want to chalk the ground, feel free to write your messages to City Council. Let them know how you feel. We'll get started in about 5 or 10 minutes. We'll get some tunes playing. Public forum starts at 7:30, so we've got some time. I've got a few speakers lined up so far, but this is like an ad hoc gathering. If you want to get on the mic and register your discontent with the military-industrial complex and the City Council, then you're more than welcome to say some words tonight. So thanks for coming.
Yeah, that's the thing though. I'd like to see whoever, like, where is she now? You know, and she should be here. Yeah, I think so.
Wouldn't let me play the drum because
That's a hard-hitting political message.
I wanted to play drum. 72 years later, I think it's all right.
Oh, it's not that far. That's good.
Oprah was 50 when she became a millionaire. It's all about the right time.
I was 55 when I fell in love.
There you go.
Yeah.
And 72, stop the globally.
Yeah, I ain't got that kind of time.
You're right. Just the first step. Hey, it's possible.
But I ain't got that time to sit here and listen to that fucking noise.
My dad always told me a story about the speed, like 150, he did like magic quarter with the brain tape, just off the curb one day, got hit by a bus. You gotta do what we can over here. How do you mean? Like,
Folks, thank you so much for coming. We're going to get started in about 5 minutes. This is a rally to tell the City Council to abolish the F-35. So if you'd like to grab some chalk, write some messages on the ground, help yourself, feel free, and we'll start in about 5 minutes.
that's what we're up against right now. They're saying, oh, we're hoping with the air force. It's like, we don't want that one.
unless you tell them to go. So we not go stop unless you tell them to stop. So we not go turn unless you tell them to turn. So we not go think unless you tell them to think. Zombie, oh zombie, zombie, oh zombie, zombie not go unless you tell them to go. Zombie not go stop unless you tell them to stop. Zombie not go turn unless you tell them to turn. Zombie not go think unless you tell them to think. Zombie, oh zombie, zombie, oh zombie. Tell them to go straight and to the jar, no break, no jam, no sense, and to the jar, tell them to go kill and to the jar, no break, no jam, no sense, and to the jar, tell them to go quench and to the jar, no break, no jam, no sense, and to the jar, go and kill, go and die, go and quench, put up all the mass, go and quench, go and kill, go and die, put up all the mass, go and die, go and quench, go and kill, put up all the mass. So be when I want way, so be when I want way, so be when I want way, attention, big ones, slow sound, left turn, right turn, bottom turn, double line, silence, open your hands, stand the teeth, fall out, fall down, get ready, attention.
Check, check, 2, 3, check, check. Perfect. Oh, we got lights. Heyo. Welcome. Thank you for coming out. This rally is taking place to oppose the lease extension for the Vermont Air National Guard at Burlington International Airport. My name is Dan Castrogano. I live in Burlington. I use he, him pronouns. I organize with a group called Safe Landing BTV. Thank you, yeah. We do a lot of things. Our two main goals are for, the first main goal is for degrowth at the airport because of the climate emergency. So our goal is to reduce emissions from 2023 levels to, by 50% to 2030. And our second goal is no expansion of the airport. We were the group that, thank you, there are also 2 more drums of justice if anybody wants to bang on those. We were also the group that won when the airport wanted to expand 11 acres into the Chamberlain neighborhood of South Burlington, and we pushed them back, and so we were victorious. We were also the group that helped spearhead the resolution on July 24th that states that the F-35s must, or that the Air National Guard must substantially reduce or eliminate greenhouse gas emissions from their airplanes by 2030. So we've got 2 W's under our belt, and we're here tonight telling the City Council to vote no on the lease extension. So I'm going to give a little bit of background of like why we're here and what has occurred so far, and then we'll have some speakers coming up. But we're throwing this together. I put out the call a week ago because we had no time to plan, and so this is an open mic. And so I've got a few people lined up. But as they're speaking, I'll be standing right here. And if you want to speak, please come find me. We want a wide diversity of voices. And if you've never done this before or you're uncomfortable, I encourage you to step forward, even if you speak for just 30 seconds or for a minute, and talk about what the F-35s mean to you. I encourage you to step into this space. This is a welcoming space for you to share your truth. So a little background on why we're here. So on October 10th, there was a city council meeting, and in executive session, where the public is not invited, there was an agenda item that said capital expenditures. And it was said it was related to VTANG, the Vermont Air National Guard, and there was the word lease was very small at the bottom. So basically, we didn't really know what they were talking. I mean, we knew what they were talking about, but it didn't say we are going to extend the lease until 2073. So that's what they want to do. They want to extend the lease, basically a blank check to the Vermont Air National Guard and the United States Air Force, saying you can do whatever you want at our airport for another 25 years.
Be fair. Tell them that they're paying for it. How much are they
the city of Burlington has gotten $1 for the lease since 1974. That's how much they've paid us. So then 2 days later, Moreau drops a press release. That was October 12th. That was 11 days ago, giving 11 days lead time up to today. So he and Karen Paul are just shoving this down our throats with no public input, not talking to the people of Winooski, not talking to the people of Williston, and it is bullshit. So we're here to register our discontent. I have a 2-year-old son. I know that the F-35s physically hurt his body when they fly over. We know that that is true. And if you're a parent or a caregiver, you know the anger that you feel when somebody is causing your child harm. So that is my primary motivator here, the climate emergency, my son, and resisting U.S. imperialism and militarism and war and genocide. So I invite Ashley to come up and speak, and then we'll have Paul next, and then we'll go from there. But let's make some noise. Thank you for coming out.
Thanks, Dan. Thank you, Dan. So I work in the flight path, and that's actually painful. What pains me most is my tenants, the families who live up the street from my work, who live in the flight path. And it is not a nuisance. It is harmful, it's painful, it has health repercussions for adults and for children, including learning delays for children. This is injustice, and there are over 6,000 people living with this injustice. Not a nuisance, pain and injustice. About 1,300 of those people are children. And as a mom, I am outraged. This was shoved down our throats. And we, a majority, the will of the people, voted against the F-35. And those people in there in power have told us for years, there's nothing they can do, nothing. We can't do anything. Tonight, they can do something. They can say no to this lease extension. They can get this F-35 out of our community now. So I'm not going to talk for long here, but one thing I want to say is there's a reason, and I think we all know the reason why many of those people who live with this injustice cannot be here tonight because they may be, I don't know, caring for their children, working their second job. This might not be on their radar because they're trying to make ends meet. At 7:30, please, all of you, every single one of you, at 7:30 is public comment. Please speak for them. Please go in. You'll have 2 minutes. You can sign up. You don't have to take the full 2 minutes, but you can elevate their voices. This is injustice. Thank you.
Give it up for Paul.
Yeah, thanks, Ashley. We need some more Ashleys to speak tonight, so hopefully more will go after me. Hi, I'm Paul Fleckenstein. I use he, him pronouns. I'm from the Tempest Collective, and I was thinking about the anniversary when I was walking down here tonight. I was part of one of the first groups to form opposing the F-35 called Stop the F-35 Coalition, and we formed out of Occupy Wall Street, of all things, in 2011, and few of the people here were part of that group. So in 2013, we were out here at about 5 o'clock holding a rally with a few more people than this. And there were hundreds of members of the Air National Guard in the park. And they came in while we were out here, and they tried to fill up the whole city council chambers on the night that the city council was legally deciding on the F-35 basing. 10 years ago, that city council, the Democratic Party majority, gave its stamp of approval in 2013, and they channeled all the lies of the Vermont Guard against all the health and science and environmental impacts, but not ignoring them altogether. They said the F-35s won't be that loud, that the Air Guard will work to reduce the noise impacts, and there will be noise mitigation. Turns out, of course, we were right and they were wrong, and now they want to dig deeper into this catastrophe. We explained in 2013 the big institutional forces behind the basing. We called it the Military Industrial Real Estate Complex, which now includes, there's a big flow of spending from the Pentagon, which now includes Beta Technologies, the developers and the bankers looking to profit off the cleared real estate, the lawyers and the NGO heads dependent on the bankers and the developers for funding, the entire congressional delegation that worked overtime to force the basing down our throats against clear popular majority opposition, and the Democratic Party politicians looking out for their political careers. There was and is a whole web of institutional players dedicated to business as usual, to whom facts on environmental and social harms don't matter much. It was only our organizing and political organizations not tied to business and to the Democratic Party who could make a difference. That was true, even though we lost then. So our organizing, education, protest, and disruption to business as usual still holds the key to what we need to do. So I'm glad to see you out here tonight. The last quick thing I want to say is there's some overlap here in the organizing around climate issues. All this is very much true also around climate action and policy. The basic commitment is to business as usual from the governments, with minimal disruption to existing investments, infrastructure, and markets, and it leads to fabrications, just like with the F-35, about reducing emissions, such as burning wood somehow doesn't produce any carbon emissions. There are strong institutional interests that trump science, and the alternative that we need to bring is still the same. So stop the F-35.
Next up, we've got Antonio, who's got an announcement.
All right, thank you. My name is Antonio, he, him pronouns. I'm actually quite new here in Burlington. I moved up in August, and it's kind of nice to be in a place where kind of these types of gatherings seem to be common. The issue of the F-35, clearly isn't a local issue of concern here. It's also a climate change issue, but it's also an issue directly related to what's going on in Palestine right now. The F-35 is used by the Israeli army against Palestinians. What I have here is a signature sheet to get a ballot measure for next March for the city of Burlington to oppose apartheid in Israel. I would encourage everyone here to, if you haven't done so already, to please sign it. I'll be kind of roving around, so just grab a hold of me and you can sign it. Thank you.
Excellent, thank you, Antonio. We'll go Jimmy next, and then we'll have some more speakers. If you want to speak, please come find me. This is Jimmy Lease. Give it up for Jimmy.
Hello, everybody. I'm so glad everybody's come out. This F-35 is a war machine. It's designed to kill people, black and brown people. It's designed for wars for oil. And speaking of oil, the F-35 is a climate killer. 22 gallons a minute in straight and level flight. It burns so much fuel. It's a climate killer. But worst of all, for those of us who live here in Burlington area, it's a child abuser.
Right.
As Ashley mentioned, 1,300 children live in the intense noise zone of the F-35. What is that noise zone? It's an oval-shaped area around the runway. It extends about 800 yards to each side of the runway, about a half a mile to each side of the runway, and it extends about 2 miles from each end of the runway. It's really not a very big area for this greater Burlington area, but it includes 6,663 people according to the United States Air Force. Among them, those 1,300 children. So if you live a couple of miles further away, the F-35 is annoying. The F-35 interferes with your phone calls. It might interfere with your work. But if you live in that noise zone, in Winooski, in Williston, in South Burlington, and in the Chase Street neighborhood of Burlington near the bridge to Winooski, or if you live in the New North End, you are hit hard by the F-35, 115 decibel noise. And this is something that's got to stop. Now, people have said, other speakers have said that this is damaging for children, but it's also illegal. It violates the military's own regulations, their own discipline. This is a travesty for our city council. It's not just going to be legitimizing the damage to children, it's going to be legitimizing the degradation of the law of war. We've been hearing about the law of war because of these wars in Ukraine and against Palestine, where they're just blasting away at the civilian population of Gaza. Well, they're blasting away at the civilian population right here. They're practicing war crimes, and it's got to stop now. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jimmy. Next up, we have Todd. Give it up for Todd.
I grew up all over America. And for a good portion of the early life, I lived in some of the worst parts of America. And then I came to Vermont. And it was a fresh of breath air because I realized that growing up I was taught about an America that was mostly dead in the rest of America. But when I came here, I saw that direct democracy was still alive. That people still had a voice, and it mattered. And that you could trust the police, and that you could trust the National Guard. Because you see, there's a lot of people here who grew up in an era where the National Guard has been militarized by George Bush and the War on Terror. And most people don't remember the era before that happened. The National Guard used to be the people who were there to protect us from an army that was corrupt and overreaching, from a government that was corrupt and overreaching. And then something really bizarre happened after 9/11. Everybody wanted to change that. And everybody was okay with it, mostly. And it happened. And now, for 20 years, the National Guard has been invading foreign countries while ignoring the natural disasters at home. The natural disasters at home are getting worse. And the National Guard were the ones that used to be there to respond, and that's why we loved them. And that's why we loved them. And now, 20 years since the War on Terror, here they are. And they act like an invading army, at war with the locals and the community, telling us they don't care what we have to say, helping the people who for 20 years have said torture is legal, The people who say that we need to support dictators in foreign countries while overthrowing moderate governments just because we don't like their politics. We are the United States. You see, these men with guns think they are the only United States that exists. But you see, it is their tyranny that has made us a divided state, a divided country. Because here they are. They don't believe in freedom of speech anymore, do they? They don't believe in democracy anymore, do they? They have already made up their minds before giving us a say. And they've been doing that for 20 years. So you better remember that the lesson we have here is to remember our history and why we have a National Guard that we're all not so happy with anymore is because 20 years ago, we were okay with the militarization of them, and nobody said, stop.
All right, Crystal will be our next speaker. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. This is a little improvised, so it might be a little rough. But I just wanted to say, give some facts and some information, because I think it's very easy for everyone to agree, yeah, the effects that it has on the residents of Burlington, you know, the health impacts, like the displacement, shut the fuck up, man. The displacement of people in Burlington is not okay. We can all agree on that. We can all agree on that. But one of the responses that you always hear is that why it's quote unquote so good for Burlington. You hear people claim that it brings us jobs. You hear people claim that they're gonna upgrade the airport, that they're gonna give millions of dollars in upgrades. Burlington doesn't want that blood money. We don't wanna fund and house the F-35s that get sent to Israel to bomb innocent Palestinians. We don't want that. There's no place for that here in Burlington. We want no part in this war machine. So it's easy to, and we should also call out, yes, what is happening here. But you can see this Palestinian flag here. This is local, but it's also part of a much bigger imperialist war machine that we are all a part of and we don't want to be a part of. So in conclusion, fuck the F-35s. Thank you.
Big hand for Crystal. Our next speaker will be Annie. And for those who are just joining, if you would like to speak from the heart, please come find me. This is an ad hoc, impromptu gathering, and please speak. I encourage you to come forward and speak about what the F-35s mean to you. So Annie is next.
Thanks, Dad. My name is Annie. I use she, her pronouns. I live in the New North End. One thing I want to speak to tonight is how this is also an issue of racial justice and currently an issue of racial injustice. Mayor Weinberger is on record saying that the Democratic Party has the solution to racism. Woo! Well, the way that they vote tonight is one more opportunity for them to either uphold systems of racial injustice and racism, or take an act toward dismantling white supremacy and a racist society. The city of Winooski contains the most racially diverse neighborhoods in our state. The city of Winooski bears the greatest brunt of the F-35 impact. This is not a coincidence, but it is something that can be changed through policy. The people inside the building behind me have the opportunity to shape policy and correct wrongs from prior decisions that they've been part of or their predecessors have been part of. I hope everybody will take the opportunity tonight to make your voice heard and let them know that you're watching them and you vote and you pay attention to the policies that they uphold or that they dismantle. Thank you.
Annie made a good point too. So public forum starts at 7:30. When you go in, you're gonna, I hope everybody goes in, you're gonna go in, you're gonna turn left, and there's a little sign-up sheet. You write your name, where you live, and you hand it in, and then you're in line for public forum. And I think there will be a lot of people speaking tonight about a lot of different issues. So I encourage you to get in there and make your voice heard. Would anybody else like to come up to the mic? Don't be bashful. Thank you. Give it up for, what's your name? Jean, okay.
Hi, I've lived in Burlington since 1981. I was in Bernie Sanders' first mayoral administration, so I'm kind of an old gangsta here. But I live on Bilodeau Parkway, which is east of East Avenue, below the hospital hill. And I started being a little suspicious about this whole process when the environmental impact statement for the F-35s suddenly put us out of the noise zone. I've measured it at 85 to 95 decibels when they take off, where we are, and we are right next to the hospital. The hospital, interestingly enough, up on a hill, also is out of the sound impact zone. I've done enough statistical modeling, prediction kinds of things to know that if you want a particular answer, you just change a variable. And if the answer you want is, we don't want to have to soundproof the friggin' hospital, you change a little variable, and that whole neighborhood and the hospital are outside of the sound impact zone. I think they've been lying to us from the very start about this. And the thing that aggravates me the most is, if there's nothing done tonight, what is the actual harm? They have 25 years left. 25 years is the federal limit for getting whatever greenwashing grants they want to get, you know. Nothing is harmed by them not acting tonight. And I think that's the message they have to get is, and my husband just pointed this out to me, I think 25 years is a generation. The decision that's made tonight is going to affect 50 years worth of people living and growing up and raising their families in Burlington. 50 years. Committing to 50 years. And we have, and my husband, who's even an older gangster than I am, he pointed out that like 25 years ago, we had fax machines and thought they were just, oh my God, fax machines. And now we have artificial intelligence. What's going to happen 25 years from now? We don't know, and this lease cannot lock us in. It cannot.
Thank you, Jean. This is an open mic for those who are just curious. Isaac, come on up. Give it up for Isaac.
Hey everyone, I'm Isaac, he, him. I live in South Burlington in the Chamberlain neighborhood. Yeah, I don't really love speaking at these types of things, but the F-35 is incredibly impactful in the Chamberlain neighborhood, and my house is outside of the sound impact zone as well. This is the neighborhood that abuts the airport. The sound zone literally curves around our house. It's sort of ridiculous. But so I see the airplane take off. As soon as it takes off, you can see it and you feel it rattling in your chest. You can plug your ears, but you really feel it in your chest. So it's horrendous and it needs to go. And the last speaker was totally correct that it's sort of an incredible commitment. And the argument that they're going to make is an economic argument. They say, okay, we only get $1, but they pay for firefighting at the airport that's worth $2 million a year, plus the Air National Guard. We are reliant on those jobs. And so for economic reasons, we have to make these sacrifices. The people have to make these sacrifices for the economy. And what's absurd is the idea that they know what the economy is going to look like in 50 years. They have no freaking idea, okay? The future is incredibly unpredictable right now, and they're making enormous capital commitments with no freaking clue what they're doing. Nobody has any clue what to do with that level of capital, with the level of uncertainty that we're facing. And so the arguments that they're going to put forward tonight, we're probably going to hear them after public comment. They're bullshit.
Thank you, Isaac. Excellent. Come on forward. Yeah, thanks. What's your name? Kaya. Yeah. Thank you for your bravery.
Hi, everyone. I'm not really sure what I want to say tonight, except that I'm really angry. I'm just angry at our government saying that they represent our communities in whatever way they mean, and then acting against the things that we care about, and the positions that we decide to take. And it feels like they actually don't care about us. It feels like they just care about money. And this greed has an impact on the people here. And our government is created by our citizens. Like, we are our government, or at least we should be, you know? Like, we are the voices. We represent the United States of America, every individual, and we should be able to have a say in what goes on in our own fucking communities, you know? And not only that, but we should be able to have a say on what goes on about our representation overseas. Like, I mean, the fact that F-35s are being stored here in Burlington, and that they have a direct effect, that those same F-35s are being sent to Israel and being used in the genocide against Palestine. That's insane to me, that we decide to keep these things here for what, the fucking economy? I don't give a shit about the economy. I don't give a shit about your money. I don't give a shit about that. I give a shit about our human lives. I give a shit about how we live. I give a shit about our community. I don't care about all of your fucking money, dude. Like, it just makes me so angry. Sorry for cussing, but I'm so mad, and I want to be heard, and we need to all realize that we can be heard in the masses. We need to just tell our brothers and sisters here that their voice matters, because the government creates apathy. That's what they do. And the more that we are apathetic, the more that they can get away with. And we can't let them get away with it. Not anymore. Not anymore. Not anymore. Thank you.
Excellent. Big hand for Kaya. What's your name?
Peter Bingham.
Peter. Great. Good to see you.
Thank you.
Peter.
That's Dan?
Yeah.
Hi, Peter Bingham. I'm a neurologist for children up the hill here, and I'm prompted to say that I do not speak for the health center, which I am sorry to say has not taken a position on what I consider is a very important public health issue. And I think we've gotten so used to, even many of my colleagues are not aware of noise pollution as we would think of it, the way I've learned to think about it, as really very similar to lead poisoning. Think of it as lead poisoning kind of going through the air. I'm sorry to say that because it's an awful thought. And my parents and ancestors and all of ours did live for 50 years in this country, from 1920 till the 70s, until people said, hey, lead is poisonous to our nervous systems. Meanwhile, the oil companies were saying, no, don't worry about that. And it took a while to just see the obvious scientific facts and make them clear to the politicians and the complexity of the financial, you can imagine the oil companies. I'm just making that story because I think it's a very real comparison to what is going on now in terms of what was just said, thank you, about all the money and the economy. Well, I would not recommend to any family that was considering moving anywhere close, as has been pointed out, to that shock zone or anywhere near it. And this started for me over 10 years ago when I realized when that thing flew over, I can't think. It's just taking away my thoughts. And that is not a short-lived position. We can be proud of ourselves, and you'll hear people say, it's a nuisance, it's distracting for a moment. It's not just a moment. There is a long carryover in the return of our attention and our brain function after that kind of noise exposure. And there's lots of papers out there about yeah. Noise pollution affects our blood vessels, our brain, makes us deaf, has been known for 50 years to affect children's ability to read. And you can call it short, or people will call it a short exposure, but there are long-term effects. And we need to appreciate all of your presence here, and we'll involve everyone to get to realize the long-term effects of this noise pollution problem is not just the word a nuisance. And that's where our investment should be, in our children and in our brains for the future. Thank you.
Cool. We'll go here next. Yeah, thank you. That's Dr. Peter Bingham. Thank you, Peter. And what's your name? Sophie. Thank you, Sophie.
Hi, my name's Sophie. I use she, her pronouns. Someone earlier mentioned that it's important for those of us who are here today to speak because many who are perhaps feeling the brunt of the devastation of the F-35s in our community cannot be here for a variety of reasons. And something I've been thinking about a lot is if we want to be a welcoming community, if Vermont and Burlington in particular prides itself on being a haven and a sanctuary for refugees from around the world, for people who have experienced war around the world, for people who have experienced oppression and devastation around the world, what kind of welcome are we giving them when they need to listen to warplanes go over their homes day after day after day? I know for many of us, it's annoying, we can't think, it makes our lives a little bit more miserable. But for people who have experienced war firsthand, displacement firsthand, oppression firsthand, I want us to hold them in our hearts and to fight on the behalf of people who we want to include in our communities, because this is triggering, this is traumatic, and we can't let it stand.
Excellent. Thank you for your bravery. Thank you very much. What's your name?
My name is Aspen. I'm with the UVM Union of Students.
Aspen. Cool. Thank you, Aspen.
All right. Hi. So I want to speak as a UVM student and a member of the UVM Union of Students. And because much energy has been spent on the impact of F-35, discussing the impact of the F-35s on the people of Burlington. And this is not a minor issue for us. As UVM students, as well as everyone else here, knows the impact of hearing the F-35s scream overhead through every fucking morning. And I know I certainly have. But however, this is a broader issue. Fundamentally, this decision tonight is saying that we will not be complicit in the war machine. We will not be complicit in utilizing the people and energy of Burlington and the people of energy of Vermont to bomb children in Gaza. This is about saying we will not be complicit in the murder of innocents in Iran and Iran. This is to say we will not be complicit in the murder of Yemenis. This is to say This is to say we do not want to be complicit in the impact of climate change spewed out by jet fuel. And fundamentally, we must speak out against this, because not just for the people of Burlington, but for the people throughout the world. We must speak. And I hope Burlington fucking recognizes the impact that they can have here today.
So maybe a few more speakers, and then we'll have an announcement at the end, and we'll wrap up. But I encourage folks to come on up and speak your truth. I see the leaning forward. Cool. What's your name? Megan. All right. Here you go.
Hi. That felt really loud to me. My name's Megan. I don't typically speak at stuff like this, so maybe bear with me. Honestly, like this? Is that good? Okay. Honestly, this is fucking ridiculous. Thinking about the scope of what we're asking here, the F-35s would still be here for 23 more years. We're asking to not have them be here until I'm 79 years old. That's a fucking small ask. We're asking for something very small here. I'm assuming Miro and the city council can't hear me, but I think they need to know we can demand a whole lot more if we want to. And we want a whole lot more. This is the scope of this. It's so important, but we have the right to demand more. As has been said before me, this is our government, this is our city council, this is our country. And if we don't want F-35s here, they shouldn't be here. If we don't want them flown abroad, they should not be abroad. It's, at the end of the day, the F-35 shouldn't be anywhere. They should be grounded everywhere. They shouldn't move to a different part of the United States in 23 years. They need to be, and if they do get moved, we need to stand up for those communities, because that's exactly what the National Guard would do. That's exactly what the US government would do. They're gonna continue with these war machines until we demand that they stop, and we have the right to demand that. So I hope that is something to keep in mind after we have a tremendous victory tonight.
Good job. Hello, good people. My name's Damian Taylor, he, him. I am an organizer with the PSL, and I did want to just come up here and say that what we're seeing here is just the domestic side effects of imperialism, and we're just going to always have endless wars as long as there is capitalism, as long as it's its highest developed form that we're seeing now, where we need to go overseas and protect our interests. And the money that gets funneled into it is just mind-boggling. They say that it's around 800 billion, but some people would argue that it's more like $1.5 trillion when you start adding up all the nuclear implications and different things that are happening. That's money that we could be using for people and to make advancements to maybe tackle this climate crisis. The military machine is the worst. I mean, you can recycle all you want to. We can drive electric cars. None of that matters unless we stop imperialism. And the only thing that will stop it is once, we get together. We have to be highly organized. We have to figure out how to punch above our weight. All of you right here, this is like where it starts. I just highly encourage everyone to just get involved, just tear off the Band-Aid, get right into it, and just start making a stink, because that's the only thing that will change it. Last night in Philadelphia, there was 20,000 people marching for Palestine, 6,000 in Boston. I got to attend the Boston March, and it was powerful, and that's exactly, it's the power of the people. You can't stop it. We have to get together. And I did want to just make an announcement. On Thursday at the top of Church Street, 4:30, there will be a rally for Palestine. I expect you all to be there. I expect you all to bring your friends. There's also a national march on DC for Palestine on November 4th. And we are organizing transportation to get down there. We want to send a contingent from Vermont. We need to show up. There's, pretty epic predictions for the turnout, and this is a moment in history that we all need to make time in our lives for. Free Palestine. Thank you very much.
We're actually going to stop here. So. No, I'm going to send people in, actually, because we have to get people in. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, we're going to wrap up the rally.
Here. Two minutes.
No, I know, but I know, I'm sorry.
So See this sign, people?
Okay, that's fine.
This is 7 years ago we started this fight and we lost. Okay, we need you young people to stop abuse of us, of children, of immigrants, of older people, and we need young people to come and
Here, use this.
that's okay, and help us. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
7 years.
Big round of applause for our last speaker. Thank you. And I wanted to end, thank you so much for speaking. I wanted to end, Annie let us know that it's pretty full inside. And we don't know how many people are going to get to speak at public forum. And so the move right now is to all go in together. And if you look around, there's 40 maybe of us, if 60, like 1,000 of us. If we all go in together, bring your signs, go straight to the public forum sign-in sheet, and that will send a message that they have to listen to us. So please, everybody go in at the same time. I got to take down banners and everything. Thank you so much for coming out, and let's stop the F-35s. Thank you.